What's going on, baseball fans? How are we doing? So despite still being in this lockout, we have continued to push on through. We've talked about the best free agent signings of all time, the worst free agent signings of all time. You can see those videos up here somewhere. But in this video, I'm going to go over the most shocking free agent signings of all time. Let's go talk about it. Starting off my list at number 10, I have the Tigers signing Prince Fielder in 2012. This was definitely a shock to me at the time because I did not think the Tigers were going to be going all in on someone like Prince Fielder, who was one of the top free agents of that class. The main reason was because they didn't really need him. They had Miguel Cabrera, they had Victor Martinez, but Victor Martinez tore his ACL in an offseason workout, so the Tigers had to call an audible, and they went all in on Prince Fielder, a 9-year, $214 million contract that was one of the biggest of all time in Major League Baseball history at the time. Taking a look at Prince Fielder with the Brewers, he was phenomenal. Over 7 years, hit 282 with a 390 on base and a 540 slugging. And with Detroit, he was actually only with them for a couple of years. We'll talk about that here in a second. But he over those 2 years, he hit 295, a 387 on base, and a 491 slugging. It definitely dropped from his time with the Brewers, but it was still a pretty good slugging percentage. Not great defense. That was a problem with Prince Fielder on the Tigers. So eventually, they ended up trading him to the Rangers, a team that were interested in Prince Fielder. They were actually, and that was another reason why it was a bit shocking, because there were other teams that were very interested. The Cubs, the Nationals, the Rangers, and then he ended up getting traded to the Rangers anyway in that trade for Ian Kinsler. Trading him to the Rangers just made sense for both sides at the time. But when this signing happened, it was definitely shocking to me. At number 9, I have the Red Sox signing Daisuke Matsuzaka. This entire saga from start to finish was just such a whirlwind to me. Just drama all over the place. It all started at the World Baseball Classic, and maybe even before that too. People have been hearing about Daisuke Matsuzaka over in Japan, and then he pitched in the World Baseball Classic. He looked phenomenal there, and it was just only a matter of time before he was going to come over to the States. Then you had to win a bid to just talk to Daisuke Matsuzaka, and this is where kind of it all started. There were a lot of teams involved. I mean, a ton of teams were involved. Everyone was just looking to set the highest bid. The Red Sox obviously were involved. The Yankees, the Mets, I mean, two teams that could spend a lot of money. A lot of people were thinking the Yankees were going to come out on top, but in the end, the Red Sox set the winning bid over $50 million just to talk to Daisuke. That in itself was just shocking to me. People were thinking, probably maybe around 25 million, 30 million. Nope. The Red Sox, they went over 50 million just to talk to him. That's how badly they wanted him. But then negotiations kind of stalled. They were not really making any progress. And the Red Sox, they were like, all right, you know what? We're going to go to Scott Boras himself in California. They went uninvited. They flew their plane all the way to California to go talk to Scott Boras. And in the end, they worked out a 6-year deal. I still remember this. People were, got to remember at the time, 2006, late 2006, 2007, there was no Twitter. There was not really, the internet was definitely growing, obviously, but at the time, you weren't getting the latest news and coverage like you are today. So people were looking into any way they could to track the flight of the Red Sox and Daisuke coming back to Boston. It was just such a crazy saga. I remember thinking, all right, you know what? He's going to end up going back to Japan. He's just going to come back next offseason, and maybe, we'll see where he goes from there. But he ended up being okay for the Red Sox. That first year in 2007, he was pretty good. Ended up with a 15-12 record, a 4.40 ERA, helped the Red Sox win the World Series that year. After that, he went 18-3 in 2008, but he did have the 2.90 ERA, but he was walking a lot of guys at that time. Daisuke never fully lived up to the hype, but he did help the Red Sox win a World Series in 2007. I will always remember that. But this one was definitely shocking to me. At number 8, I have Cliff Lee signing with the Phillies in 2011. This actually spans over a couple of years. Let's go back to the beginning. Remember, Cliff Lee was with the Indians. He ended up getting traded to the Phillies, but then later on, the Phillies actually dealt Cliff Lee in the Roy Halladay blockbuster trade. The Phillies got Roy Halladay, the Mariners got Cliff Lee, and the Blue Jays got prospects. But then later on, Cliff Lee ended up signing with the Phillies again. I remember thinking, man, Cliff Lee, he's probably going to go to the Yankees, the Rangers. I mean, these two teams were offering a ton of money for Cliff Lee, but then he just went back to the Phillies anyway, which, it's surprising. You don't really see that very often, where if a guy gets traded away and goes back to his old team. And Cliff Lee, you didn't really see that very much, but it was the move itself. When people saw that this happened, everyone was talking about what the rotation was going to look like. They traded Cliff Lee for Roy Halladay and then signed Cliff Lee. I mean, that is phenomenal. Roy Halladay, Cliff Lee. Don't forget, they had Cole Hamels. They also had Roy Oswalt. This is probably one of the best rotations in Major League Baseball history. It still blows my mind that the Phillies weren't able to get to the World Series that year. This will easily be one of the best rotations of all time. And I think Cliff Lee going back to the Phillies, that was one of the most shocking signings of all time. At number 7, I have Ivan Rodriguez signing with the Detroit Tigers in 2004. Number 7, quite fitting, because that's the number that he wore for most of his career. One of the best catchers of all time. With the Rangers, he was absolutely phenomenal. Won an MVP in 1999. I still think Pedro Martinez should have won the MVP that year. I digress. But Ivan Rodriguez, he was fantastic. With the Marlins in 2003, after a few injury-riddled seasons with the Rangers, he went to the Marlins, ended up winning a World Series over the Yankees that year. And then he was a free agent, and then he signed with the Tigers. Everyone was thinking, what the heck? Why are you signing with the Tigers? Well, look at the Tigers in 2003. They were one of the worst teams of all time. 119 losses. If we go take a look at the most losses of all time in a season, that's the second most, only behind the 1962 New York Mets. When you look at winning percentage, that is the 6th worst winning percentage of all time. So everyone was wondering, why is Ivan Rodriguez signing with the Tigers? Well, a lot of teams were a little worried about the injuries that he had been having. A lot of people were thinking, he's probably wearing down. How much longer is he going to last as a catcher? But the Tigers were willing to pony up the money. They did have a lot of things in that contract in case he ended up getting hurt a lot. A lot of that contract was not going to be guaranteed, but he wanted to go to the Tigers to try and help turn around that franchise. And the Tigers, they really improved over the next few years. Ivan Rodriguez was kind of like that first step towards getting the Tigers back on track. Made the World Series in 2006. This one, I remember when this happened. This was definitely a shocker to me. At number 6, I have the Angels signing Albert Pujols. Albert Pujols was supposed to be a St. Louis Cardinal for his entire career. And then he signed with the Angels before the 2012 season. Are you kidding me? This just blew my mind because it was looking like him and the Cardinals, they were going to come to an agreement. And then all of a sudden, the Angels signed him, and everyone was thinking, what the heck just happened? He signed for 10 years, $240 million. Albert Pujols, I mean, this guy will be a Hall of Famer, but with the Cardinals, I mean, he was nicknamed the Machine for a reason. Look at the numbers that he put up with the St. Louis Cardinals over 11 years. Hit .328 with them, a .420 on base, a .617 slugging. With the Cardinals, he had 445 home runs. He went to the Angels, and it really did show that his best years were behind him. Those 3 MVPs that he won with the Cardinals, and that he wasn't going to be doing that with the Angels. If you take a look at what he did with the Angels, he was okay in the beginning, but overall ended up being kind of a bust of a signing. Only hit .256 over those 10 years, a .311 on base. I mean, the fact that his on base percentage dropped over 100 points from the Cardinals to the Angels, and his slugging percentage dropped from .617 to .447. He was just not the same player with the Angels. Ended up getting cut from the Angels, went to the Dodgers this past season. Helped out a little bit there, but it was clear Pujols was just not the same player with the Angels. But the fact that this even happened, him going to the Angels, I wonder what would have happened if he would have stayed with the Cardinals, would have had the same numbers. I don't know. But this was shocking to me. At number 5, I have the Angels signing Josh Hamilton. Let's stick with the Angels, shall we? First Albert Pujols, and now Josh Hamilton. This was definitely a shocker to me at the time. Let's just take a look at what his numbers were with the Rangers. He revitalized his career with the Rangers. Ended up winning an MVP in 2010. Remember, he had the home run derby at Yankee Stadium. Even though he didn't win the home run derby, that was the story. with the Rangers, he was phenomenal. Hit 302, a 359 on base, a 542 slugging. The guy was just putting up great numbers year to year. 2012, 43 home runs and 128 RBIs. He led the league in RBIs in 2008. Josh Hamilton was primed to get a big contract, and no one expected the Angels to be giving him that kind of a contract. They had just signed Albert Pujols the offseason prior, and then they added Josh Hamilton. People were just going nuts over this because of the thought of that lineup with Mike Trout, Pujols, and now Hamilton. Could you imagine if Pujols and Hamilton ended up working out and they were still the same kind of players like they were with their previous teams? Holy cow, that would have been one of the best 1, 2, 3 punches in a lineup of all time. Unfortunately, with Josh Hamilton, just was not the same player. 2013, it was an okay season, but nothing near what he was supposed to be. 2014, not really much of the same, was injury riddled that year. I ended up just getting traded to the Rangers for basically a bag of potato chips. The Angels said, hey, can you just take Josh Hamilton? We'll pay the rest of his contract or most of it. And the Rangers said, yeah, hey, send him on over. We'll love him. So after 2015, though, ended up that was his last season in the major leagues. But this signing at the time, I remember my mind was just exploding when it happened. At number 4, I have Randy Johnson signing with the Arizona Diamondbacks in 1999. Who thought the Diamondbacks were going to sign Randy Johnson? They were in their second year of existence. They were just an expansion team the year before in 1998. But the Diamondbacks, they were looking to make some moves, and they made a big one with Randy Johnson. He chose the Diamondbacks over teams like the Texas Rangers, the LA Angels, the Dodgers as well. But in the end, he wanted to go to the Diamondbacks because he was liking the moves that they were making, and he thought, hey, I'm also going to be close to home. I like where this franchise is going. I'm going to sign with the Diamondbacks. No one saw it coming. He was one of the best pitchers in the game with Seattle from 1990 to 1997. He was, or 1998, sorry. He was just one of the best pitchers in the game. Ended up going to Houston in 98, helped them get to the postseason. Probably one of the best second halves, if not the best second half by a pitcher of all time with the Astros in 98. In the second half of the season, he had a 1.28 ERA, a 2.04 FIP, 12 strikeouts per 9. He was just on fire with the Astros, and then went to the Diamondbacks, helped them win a World Series just 2 years later. Ended up just being an amazing move. He won 4 straight Cy Young Awards. This was one of the best free agent signings of all time. I forget where it is on my video of the best free agent signings of all time. Hey, check out that video up here somewhere. But Randy Johnson to the Diamondbacks. What a shocker. At number 3, I have the Mets signing Max Scherzer. This is all still fresh on our minds. One of the last deals to happen before the lockout, but what a doozy of a deal. The highest AAV of all time. Taking a look at his contract, $43.3 million per year. That blows away Garrett Cole's AAV by a mile. This deal, when this happened not too long ago, just blew my mind. It was looking like Max Scherzer was going to stay on the West Coast. That's what reports were saying. Probably stay with the Dodgers, maybe go to the Padres. Hey, maybe even the Angels. Who knew? But no one saw this coming. The Mets, they had been spending the big bucks this offseason. They brought in Starling Marte, Mark Canha, Eduardo Escobar, and then Max Scherzer on top of that. Are you kidding me? This, well, even though this is the most recent, this ranks very high on this list because I mean, look at the money that they gave him. $43.3 million. That is just nuts. No one saw it coming. Easily, I think, even 10 years from now, I think this will be one of the most shocking deals of all time. At number 2, I have the Yankees signing Johnny Damon in 2006. This one still makes me a little sad to this day. Johnny Damon had just helped the Red Sox win the World Series in 2004, helped the Red Sox come back against the Yankees down 3-0 in the ALCS. Johnny Damon was one of the lovable idiots of that team. He was rocking the long hair, the beard. He was an icon in Boston. Everyone loved Johnny Damon. So when he went to the Yankees after the 2005 season, all of Boston were just stunned. And Major League Baseball, fans throughout Major League Baseball were just stunned as well. The fact that someone had jumped ship from the Red Sox to the Yankees at the height of that rivalry, that Red Sox-Yankees rivalry was white hot at that time. So this was just this was just crazy. I'm still thinking to this day. I remember all my friends at school, they were like, oh my God, Robbie, did you see Johnny Damon sign with the Yankees? I even had friends that didn't even like baseball. They were like, Robbie, did you see Johnny Damon sign with the Yankees? And I'm thinking, you don't even like baseball. How'd you hear about this? That's how big of a move this was. I mean, the fact also, he had the beard, he had the long hair, and he shaved it all off. I mean, look at the difference. I mean, look at Johnny Damon, clean shaven. That's just shocking in itself. But when he went to the Yankees, he ended up being very good for them. 4 seasons overall with the Yankees, helped them win a World Series in 2009. He was very good with the Yankees over those 4 years at 285, a 363 on base, a 458 slugging. This ended up being a really good signing for the Yankees, but my oh my, this was an absolute shocking move. And at number 1, I have Alex Rodriguez signing with the Texas Rangers. This deal was just mind-blowing at the time. A-Rod was the best player in Major League Baseball at the time, and he was just entering his prime. With the Mariners from 94 to the year 2000, had some of the best numbers in the game, hit 309 over those 7 years with a 374 on base and a 561 slugging. Entered free agency for the first time at age 25. Everyone was expecting he was going to get a massive deal, and the Rangers were the ones to come out on top with a 10-year, $252 million contract. Nowadays, we're talking about Juan Soto maybe getting $500 million, but back then in 2001, when A-Rod got this kind of a contract, it was insane. The biggest sports contract at the time was for Kevin Garnett, who signed for 6 years and $126 million with the Timberwolves. So the fact that A-Rod got $252 million, double that's just insane. Ended up being that Alex Rodriguez, he ended up only staying for a couple of years with the Rangers. They made one of the most shocking trades, almost trading him to the Red Sox. It was a done deal before the Players Association shot it down, and then he went to the Yankees, where he spent the rest of his career. All in all, a Hall of Fame career for Alex Rodriguez. It is yet to be known whether or not he will make the Hall of Fame. He obviously had some controversies in his career, mainly with the steroids. Will A-Rod make it? We'll have to wait and see. But this signing, that still blows my mind, seeing him in a Texas Rangers hat. So those are my 10 most shocking free agent signings of all time. Tell me what you think down below. Did I leave anything off the list? Let me know. But that's all I have for right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.